On the outskirts of a forgotten town, nestled between endless fields and dusty roads, stood a small, weathered shack. Its wooden walls leaned with age, the roof patched with worn tin sheets. Inside lived Maria Bennett, a widow in her late 30s, with 3 children and a spirit weathered by hardship. Every morning before dawn, Maria would rise quietly. The children, Lily, Ethan, and Max, slept huddled together on a thin mattress that barely kept out the chill. Maria kindled a small fire in the hearth, boiling what little rice she had, hoping to stretch it into a meal. Her only source of income was an old sewing machine, a gift from a distant charity years ago. With it, she mended clothes and stitched simple garments for neighbors who could barely afford to pay. She worked tirelessly, often refusing money from those even poorer than her. Maria never asked for help. Pride and resilience kept her moving forward. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Maria sat threading a needle outside her shack. The children played quietly nearby. Suddenly, hurried footsteps approached. A young boy from a neighboring farm ran up, breathless. "Ms. Bennett, there's a group of foreigners at the road," he said. "They're looking for you. They have cameras, and someone said your name." Maria's heart raced. "Why me? They said they want to help," the boy said, eyes wide with excitement. Maria hesitated, but followed him toward the road. There, a small crowd had gathered around a man wearing a baseball cap and holding a camera. "Maria," a translator called gently. "This is Jimmy. He's from the United States and wants to help families in need." Maria looked at him, speechless. Jimmy smiled. "I'm MrBeast. We heard your story and want to build you a proper home." The days that followed felt like a dream Maria couldn't quite grasp. She kept wondering if she'd wake up and find herself back in the cramped shack where every creak and draft reminded her of how fragile life could be. MrBeast and his team arrived with plans, tools, and a promise that stretched beyond just walls and a roof. To Maria, it was a chance, a rare, golden chance to rewrite her family story. The villagers watched with curiosity, some skeptical, others hopeful. Maria wasn't used to attention. She often preferred the quiet, invisible life she'd carved out for herself. But now cameras followed her steps, and strangers asked questions. Her children watched with wide eyes as strangers painted walls, hammered nails, and carried beams. Lily, the eldest, asked, "Mom, do you think this will really be our home?" Maria smiled, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Yes, Lily, it will be." Evenings were the hardest. Maria lay awake listening to the sounds of construction fading into the night. She thought of her late husband, of the promises they made to give their children better lives. This felt like that promise coming true, even if it was from a stranger halfway across the world. Yet beneath the hope, a shadow of doubt lingered. Maria wondered if accepting this help would change something inside her, her pride, her independence. Could she let go of the struggle that had defined her? One afternoon, as the sun warmed her face, Maria sat with MrBeast beside the half-built house. He asked gently, "Why do you work so hard, even when things get tough?" Maria looked at him, her eyes steady. "Because I want my children to know that no matter what happens, they can always stand on their own." MrBeast nodded. "That's a strength many don't have." Maria felt something shift inside her. Maybe accepting help didn't mean giving up. It could mean building a future stronger than the past. The house began to take shape, sturdy wooden beams replacing the brittle planks of the old shack, fresh paint brightening what was once dull and weathered. For the first time in years, Maria felt a flicker of something she hadn't dared to feel in a long time. Hope. But with hope came an unfamiliar weight. Pride had been Maria's armor for so long. Accepting help from strangers, especially from someone like MrBeast with cameras and a global audience, felt like stepping into the spotlight, vulnerable and exposed. At times, she caught herself hesitating, withdrawing behind a wall of quiet resistance. "Are you sure this is what you want?" MrBeast asked one afternoon as he watched the workers measure and cut lumber. Maria took a deep breath, looking at the frame of her future home. "I want better for my children. But it's hard to accept when you've spent so long doing everything on your own." Mr. Beast smiled gently. It's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. That evening, Maria sat with her children around a small fire outside their old shack. The new home skeleton cast long shadows in the fading light. "Mom," Lily whispered, "do you think we'll be happy there?" Maria pulled her daughter close. "We will make a home. Together." But inside, Maria wrestled with more than just hope. She wrestled with fear. Fear that the new home might change the simple life she knew, that the world's eyes on her family might bring expectations she wasn't ready to meet. Yet, she also knew that sometimes, to move forward, walls must come down, both the ones around her home and the ones she built around her heart. Weeks passed, and the new house grew more solid with every nail hammered and every board placed. Maria's heart softened with the tangible proof of a future she had barely dared to imagine. Then came the moment that made her world shift again, an offer from MrBeast himself. One afternoon, as they sat on the rough wooden porch of the half-finished house, MrBeast spoke quietly. "Maria, we want to do more than just build you a home. We want to help you and your family start fresh, provide education for your kids, maybe even help you with a small business." Maria's eyes widened. I don't know if I deserve that." "Deserve isn't the point," he said. "It's about making a difference. You've been through a lot, and it's time you had a break." But Maria's pride was a strong tether. "I appreciate the kindness, but I've managed this far on my own. I don't want to owe anyone." MrBeast nodded, understanding the weight of her words. No one wants to owe anyone. But sometimes, accepting help is the first step toward paying it forward. Maria looked out at the horizon, the sun dipping below a line of trees, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink. Could she accept this offer? Could she believe in a future where help wasn't a debt, but a gift? Her silence spoke volumes, and MrBeast knew this was only the beginning of a deeper journey. Days later, the final touches on the house were nearly complete. Fresh paint glistened in the sunlight, and the new roof promised shelter from every storm. Maria stood on the porch, her hands gripping the railing, her mind heavy. The offer MrBeast had made lingered like a shadow, generous but daunting. One evening, as the team prepared to leave, Maria asked to speak privately with Jimmy, MrBeast's closest aide. "I'm grateful for everything," she said softly, "but I have to be honest. I can't accept the full help. Not yet." Jimmy's face showed surprise, then respect. "May I ask why?" Maria looked down. "I've spent so long fighting to keep my family afloat on my own. Taking this help feels like I'm admitting defeat, like I'm not strong enough." Jimmy nodded slowly. "It's not weakness to accept help. It's strength to know when you need it. But it feels like losing a part of myself," Maria whispered. Jimmy placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're not here to take your strength away. We're here to stand beside you." Maria smiled faintly, grateful yet conflicted. That night, she lay awake, the sounds of the new house settling around her. The walls held promises, but also questions about pride, about trust, about what it meant to truly accept kindness. The morning sun filtered softly through the new curtains Maria had hung herself. The house smelled fresh, a mix of paint and wood, but also something warmer, the scent of possibility. Still, Maria's heart was heavy with doubt. Could she really let down the walls she had built around herself? MrBeast's team returned that day, cameras in tow, eager to document the family's new beginning. But Maria was quiet, wary of the spotlight. Jimmy approached her gently. "Maria, we're not just here to build houses. We want to build trust. And that takes time." Maria nodded, appreciating the honesty. Slowly, she began to open up, sharing stories of her struggles, her dreams, and her fears. Her children joined in, laughter slowly replacing the cautious silence. Ethan showed Jimmy his drawings, while Lily helped Maria prepare a simple meal. For the first time, Maria felt something shift, a fragile but growing trust in the kindness of strangers. By evening, as the family sat on the porch watching fireflies flicker, Maria realized that accepting help wasn't surrender. It was a gift, a chance to rebuild not just a home but a life. Even with the house standing tall and the promise of a new beginning, Maria's mind was not at ease. The The world outside still felt uncertain, and the spotlight brought its own kind of pressure. Rumors began swirling in the village. Some whispered that Maria's pride had vanished, replaced by dependency. Others wondered what the cameras would show, fearing judgment from strangers who didn't understand their lives. Maria overheard bits of conversation, skepticism, envy, and sometimes pity. It stung more than she expected. One afternoon, as she walked to the local market, a neighbor approached her. "I don't know what you're doing," the neighbor said quietly, "but people are talking. Are you really okay with all this?" Maria looked away, the weight of their words pressing down. "I'm doing what's best for my children." "But what about your pride?" the neighbor asked gently. "Doesn't that matter?" Maria paused. Pride mattered. It was her shield. But she was learning that sometimes pride could also be a cage. That night, she sat alone on the porch, staring at the stars, wondering if accepting help meant losing herself or finding a new strength. Days grew heavier with whispers and glances. Maria felt the village's watchful eyes, each one questioning her choices, her dignity. Inside the walls of the new house, silence reigned. The children sensed their mother's struggle, but didn't know how to bridge the growing distance. One evening, after dinner, Lily broke the quiet. "Mom, why don't you talk to us like before?" she asked softly. Maria looked at her daughter, the innocence in her eyes cutting through her defenses. "I'm just trying to figure things out," Maria admitted. Lily reached for her hand. "We're your family. We can figure out together." The warmth in that simple gesture thawed something frozen inside Maria. That night, she found herself opening up, sharing fears and hopes she'd buried beneath years of hardship. With each word, the silence cracked, replaced by connection. Maria realized that vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was the bridge to healing. The days that followed brought subtle changes. Maria found herself laughing more, sharing small moments with her children that once felt impossible. She began to embrace the help offered, not as a handout, but as a stepping stone. With guidance from MrBeast's team, she explored ways to start a small home business, something she could nurture and grow with her family. Ethan discovered a love for gardening, and soon the backyard bloomed with vegetables and flowers, a small oasis of hope. Lily started attending school regularly, her curiosity blossoming alongside her confidence. Maria still faced doubts and fears, but the weight was lighter. The community's whispers softened as they saw her resilience and determination. Slowly, a new rhythm settled into their lives, one woven with threads of struggle, strength, and a quiet, steadfast hope. Months passed, and the house that once stood as a symbol of help became a true home, filled with laughter, life, and the scent of home-cooked meals. Maria's small business began to grow, selling handmade crafts and fresh produce from their garden at the local market. She had learned to balance pride with humility, strength with openness. One afternoon, as she stood by the garden, MrBeast returned for a final visit. Cameras were off this time. It was just a quiet conversation between two people who had shared a journey. "You've come a long way," he said, smiling. Maria smiled back, her eyes shining with newfound confidence. "I still have a long way to go, but I'm ready." MrBeast nodded. "That's all anyone can ask." As he left, Maria felt a deep gratitude, not just for the house or the help, but for the lessons learned about trust, community, and herself. She knew challenges would come, but she also knew she would never face them alone again. Maria's journey was never just about a house. It was about breaking down walls, the ones built from hardship, pride, fear, and silence. In accepting help, she discovered strength she never knew she had. The courage to trust, the humility to be vulnerable, and the hope to build a better future for her family. Her story is a reminder that kindness isn't a transaction, but a gift, one that can transform lives when met with open hearts. And sometimes, the greatest home we can build isn't made of wood or nails, but of connection, resilience, and a shared belief that no one should have to face life's battles alone.